Hi guys, welcome to Amateur Hour here at DistractionAction. I'm your host, the guy with the giant forehead. So reporting mostly live from the nation of Australia. Australia. Oi! What's that dingo there got in his mouth? Oh, bloody hell! The dingo's chewing up that baby. He's just got that baby in his mouth and he's eating them because dingoes. If I'm not mistaken, I watch a lot of National Geographics. Dingoes, they eat babies, and magpies are bad. Okay, hailing from Australia, very talented writer, a very dear friend of mine, and a wonderful woman all the way around. Her first book, The Dark and the Beautiful. See how I'm holding it up to the screen so you can buy it? The Dark and the Beautiful is available on Amazon in both paperback and digital. And her second book, which she recently released, Men's Day Human, is also available on Amazon in digital. Please welcome my dear friend, Vanessa Romanov. Vanessa, are you there?
Hi, I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for having me over, Rob. And I'd like to say that your impression of the Australian accent is not the best, but it's also not the worst. So, the accent is not that bad, in all honesty.
Well, thank you, Vanessa. I think you're wrong. I think it might be the worst thing ever that happened to your great nation of Australia. But I appreciate you, taking it easy on me. So I guess my first question for you is, I've read both books. I love them. And there's such a wide range of subject matter. So I guess my question to you is, what inspires you to write all this?
I guess I can find inspiration in almost anything, whether it is a murder case, family situations that I've seen or been involved in, my own personal experiences, another person's personal experiences. Sometimes it can be made up, sometimes it can be almost anything, really.
That was the interesting part to me, was the way you write it. It's all very honest. It's very open. I kind of knew that these weren't all your experiences, but the way you write about them, they kind of read so personal, as if they are all your own experiences. Your first book, The Dark and the Beautiful, that has some especially darker moments. And I was just wondering how much of that comes from things you've experienced or things that you've seen, or how much of that comes from other people around you.
So The Dark and the Beautiful does contain a lot of dark moments. Some of them are from my own personal experiences. Some of it is not. Some of it is from other people's experiences. Some of them are from different murder cases that I've read in the past. My second book contains a lot of religion, animals, and historical topics that I find interesting myself, and I have decided to share it with the world. Yeah.
There's a lot of talk about history or historical references. Where does your knowledge and your passion for history come from?
I have always been a bit of a history buff ever since I was a little girl. My grandfather would often talk to me about history and what he understood from it. When I grew older, I became more fascinated with the topic, and I did my own research on the different historical events that have occurred from different countries around the world at different times. So, for example, I am interested in ancient history as well as modern history. And yeah.
So, out of everything you've published in the 2 books, which one is your favorite piece and why?
So, one of my favorite pieces of writing that I've done is called Yurovsky's Guilt Consumes the Former Bolshevik. So, it's basically a little story that I wrote when I was 17 about a Bolshevik basically descending into madness for the crimes against the Romanovs and how they were executed on his behalf. I wrote this story when I was 17, and when I was 19, I had it on a USB, and my stupid self had lent that USB to one of my friends or my classmates at that time, and he, fucking little shit, corrupted the entire USB, and yeah, so I was lucky and fortunate that I had a printout of that same story, and I had to retype it again. But you know what? It's all good because it features in the dark and the beautiful.
And so, what about isolation? I think most writers are isolated to begin with, if we're being honest, right? But how has lockdown in Australia, COVID, affected your writing, if at all?
The lockdown in Australia hasn't really affected my ability to write or my writings in any way, but it has affected other aspects of my life, such as my social life and my university life. And I personally believe COVID can go and fuck itself.
Vanessa! Actually, you know what? You're right. You're right. Fuck COVID. And dingoes. I mean, not all dingoes. Like, we shouldn't generalize. I'm sure there's good dingoes out there. Not all dingoes are bad dingoes. But, like, I know they're like a nationally treasured animal of the fine citizens of Australia. I think this is going to upset a lot of people with the dingo thing. But here's the thing. The dingo ate the baby. I didn't eat the baby, okay? I'm not a baby eater. The dingo ate the baby. So really, if you're mad at me for talking about dingoes eating babies and you allow a dingo to eat the baby, who are you mad at, I guess, is what I'm saying. You know? Who are you really mad at? Okay, moving on. So, why poetry? Like, what is it about poetry that draws you in to want to write in that format as opposed to anything else?
I guess poetry is something that I can express myself with, and I can express what I've learned through it. Short stories, although I do like writing them, it doesn't have the same effect on me as poetry does.
That's a great point, Vanessa. Poetry, I don't know, there's something inside of it I don't think you can get from a typical story or, other form of writing. What about influence-wise? Like, who's some of your favorites?
So I am a huge fan of the Harry Potter books and of J.K. Rowling. I've loved her ever since I was a little girl. I'm also a fan of Legion Varys, who is the humanoid crow who reads his own poetry. I think he is great. He is a legend. He is a stand-up guy. And believe it or not, he's actually one of my mentors as well. He's the one why The Dark and the Beautiful is actually published. So thanks, Legion, for encouraging me to publish and not to what's that word I'm looking for? And not to look down on myself, basically. Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, you don't have to be a fan of my stuff, I guess. Soletian Varus, huh? I never heard of the guy. I don't know who that is. It must be a real kind of, I don't know. I never heard of him. But for the record, I think his first name is pronounced Leon Varus. Liana. It's linoleum. It's linoleum Varus. I have that on good authority. So, professionally, what is next for you?
So currently I am studying a Bachelor of Arts and I major in crime studies and psychology. So what is next for me professionally is I either work in the court system and become a magistrate or a clerk or maybe a researcher, but for now I'm not too sure what I want to do just yet.
What advice do you have to share with any aspiring writers?
So my advice would be not to rush things. Don't be a dickhead like me and rush your editing, because you will end up finding mistakes later on if you're not careful. So don't rush things. Look around you for inspiration. You can find inspiration any place in the world. Anything can inspire you. And if you're writing a story or a novel or whatever, no one can write it better than you, so don't give up on it.
Very well said, Australia. Is there anything else that you'd like to mention?
So, before I go, I'd like to discuss about an Easter egg that I purposely have planned in Majestic Human from the dark and the beautiful. It is up to you to find it yourself. So I plan on doing these Easter eggs throughout the books that I will write. Rob, don't give it away, because if you give it away and spoil it for the rest of them, I won't be happy with you. Okay? So just don't spoil it for the fans that are out there, because it's not very nice.
Vanessa? Did you just threaten me? No. actually kind of like it. Anything else you'd like to say to your fans?
I'd like to thank my fans, really. Thank you for reading what I've written. Thank you for being supportive. And I'd like to say that I love you all. And don't forget to stay positive and stay sweet, because right now we need that in the world.
Beautifully said, Vanessa. And I agree. I think that's what the world needs, is a little more sweetness, a little more positivity, and a lot less fucking dingoes. Okay? That's the whole purpose of the video. If that's your only takeaway, like if there's only one takeaway from watching this, is down with dingoes. Not all dingoes, just the baby eating dingoes. But I assume they're all baby eating dingoes. So, there you go. Once again, the books, The Dark and the Beautiful and Men's Day Human, available exclusively on Amazon. I do urge anybody to check them out. They are well worth your time. Vanessa, it's been a pleasure, and I thank you for coming out and letting me do this interview.
All right, Robbie, thanks for having me, and I hope everyone has a good day, and stay positive and stay sweet.